Cuddles.
Cuddles?
Cuddles.
The Partridge Family premiered in 1970 and ran for 4 seasons on ABC, and in that time it offered American television one of its most appealing fictions, a family of 6 that sang together, traveled together, looked out for each other, and managed to find the humor in every crisis.
Except, of course, on Current Events Day.
The intro played, the bus rolled, and for 30 minutes a week everything was fine. Behind that fiction, things were considerably more complicated. Today we take an honest look at what actually happened to the people inside that painted bus. He was the most famous person in the world for a period in the early 1970s, and he did not exaggerate when he said it. David Cassidy, who played Keith Partridge, the eldest son and lead singer of the family band, became a teen idol at a scale that modern culture has trouble producing. His fan mail ran to 10,000 letters a week. His concerts drew crowds that required riot police. He was at one point the highest paid entertainer in the world. He was 20 years old. At 21, he was telling journalists he wanted out. The problem was that getting out of that level of fame proved impossible. The teen idol image followed him into his 30s and 40s and 50s, and the distance between what he had been and what he could build afterward was a gap he never fully closed. He married 3 times. He worked in theater, in Las Vegas, in television. He attempted comebacks and found limited audiences. Financial pressures accumulated. He filed for bankruptcy in 2015, and through much of it he was drinking, heavily, secretly, in a way that those around him accepted because he was David Cassidy, and telling David Cassidy the truth was difficult. 3 DUI arrests in 5 years, 2010 in Florida, 2013 in New York, 2014 in California. After the last one, he was held overnight, placed on probation for 5 years, and ordered into inpatient rehabilitation. He told his family he had stopped drinking. In February 2017, he appeared at a concert in Agoura Hills, where he forgot the lyrics to songs he had been performing for nearly 50 years. He announced that he had dementia and retired from performing. 2 months before he died, in a phone call recorded by a documentary producer, he corrected the record. There was no dementia. It had been complete alcohol poisoning. The fact is, he said, his voice unsteady, I lied about my drinking. I did it to myself to cover up the sadness and the emptiness. David Cassidy died on November 21st, 2017, of liver and kidney failure. He was 67 years old. According to those with him at the end, his last words were, "So much wasted time." His co-star and childhood friend Danny Bonaduce later said of the drinking, "Part of alcoholism is lying. I can't be mad at David for that, but it's still a tragedy." She played Tracy Partridge, the youngest of the 5 children, the quiet one in the back of the bus who kept the beat on the tambourine while her older siblings got most of the screen time. It was a small role by design, and Suzanne Crough played it with the unself-conscious ease of a child who had simply been given a job and was doing it. She was 7 when the show began. By the time it ended in 1974, she was 10. She did not pursue acting into adulthood with any particular drive, and by her 20s she had effectively stepped away from Hollywood entirely. She married, raised children, and lived a private life in Nevada. The kind of life that the entertainment press occasionally refers to as disappearing. Though from her perspective, she had simply made a choice. She gave occasional interviews about her time on the show, always warmly, always with the affection of someone who remembered it as a good job and a good-natured time. There was no scandal, no dramatic reversal. On April 27, 2015, Suzanne Crough was found dead at her home in Pahrump, Nevada. She was 52 years old. The cause of death was arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, a rare hereditary cardiac condition in which the muscle tissue of the right ventricle is gradually replaced by fatty or fibrous tissue, compromising the heart's electrical function. It can be entirely asymptomatic until it isn't. The quiet Partridge child died quietly, at home far from Bayside, of a condition that gave no warning. She was the first cast member to go. Reuben Kincaid was the Partridge Family's manager, perpetually exasperated, perpetually underpaid, perpetually wondering what he had done to deserve these people. And Dave Madden played him with a deadpan comic timing that anchored every episode he appeared in. He was the adult in the room in the most literal sense, older than the parents around him, more cynical than anyone on the bus, and somehow still there every week. The joke was that Reuben was a bad manager who stayed anyway. The reality was that Madden was a skilled comedian who made the premise work. After the Partridge Family, he continued to work in television through the 1980s and 1990s, with guest appearances across a range of programs. He made a cameo with Danny Bonaduce in a 1994 episode of Married Up with Children. He was not the kind of performer who generated headlines or scandal. He lived a quiet professional life after the show, the kind of career that is less visible than a fall from grace, but considerably more sustainable. Dave Madden died on January 16, 2014, in a care facility in Sarasota, Florida. He was 82 years old. The cause was complications from heart and kidney failure. His passing received relatively little coverage. He was not David Cassidy, and the culture's attention had moved on from the Partridge universe a long time ago. But for the generation that had watched him complain about the Partridges every Saturday night, his absence was felt. He came into the Partridge Family midway through its run, when the original actor playing Chris Partridge left after the first season. Brian Forster was cast in the role and stayed with the show for the remaining 3 seasons, playing the younger of the 2 Partridge boys with an easy, unassuming presence that made it easy to forget the character had ever been played by anyone else. He has said he remembers being in 4th or 5th grade, dancing around to I Think I Love You, and then suddenly finding himself on the show. The excitement, he recalled, was genuine. After the show ended in 1974, Forster did something that very few child actors of his generation managed. He built a life that had almost nothing to do with Hollywood. He made occasional acting appearances over the years, mostly outside the mainstream industry, but his more sustained interest turned out to be motorsport. In the early 2000s, he took up race car driving seriously, competing at an amateur and semi-professional level, a pursuit about as far removed from a painted school bus and family sing-alongs as it is possible to get. He is 66 years old in 2026. He does not appear at many Partridge Family reunion events, and he does not seek the spotlight. Of all the children who rode that bus, he may be the one who most successfully walked away from what it represented and built something else entirely on the other side. That is not a dramatic story, but it is, in its own quiet way, a successful one. He played Danny Partridge, the wisecracking red-headed middle son who drove the comedy of almost every episode, and he was the youngest of the main cast, 3 years junior to even Suzanne Crough, with a natural comic timing that made him an immediate audience favorite. Off-camera, his childhood was nothing like the show. He grew up in a genuinely abusive home. He has spoken at length about the physical and emotional abuse from his father. During the show's run, cast members, including Shirley Jones, his television mother, would bring him home with them on weekends to get him out of the house. The painted bus was, in ways that mattered, safer than his real life. When the show ended in 1974, Bonaduce was 14 years old and no longer famous. The years that followed were difficult by any measure. By his own account, he lived out of his car near a dumpster in the early 1980s, homeless, still recognizable enough that people would stop him for autographs without realizing he had nowhere to sleep. He worked as a stable boy for Kenny Rogers. He trained in martial arts under Chuck Norris for 20 years, earning multiple black belts, and he used drugs. In 1985, he was arrested in West Hollywood on suspicion of cocaine possession and driving under the influence, spending 9 hours in jail. In 1990, he was arrested in Daytona Beach, Florida, while attempting to buy cocaine, a particularly stark irony given that he was in Florida to host an event for DARE, the anti-drug campaign aimed at children. He pleaded no contest and received 15 months of probation and community service. In 1991, he was arrested in Phoenix, Arizona, for beating and robbing a prostitute, an incident he has since addressed publicly. He pleaded guilty to reduced charges and paid the victim's medical bills. He eventually found stability through radio and, later, through candor. The VH1 reality series Breaking Bonaduce in 2005 documented his relationship and his struggles with something that had become almost a secondary fame, the fame of having been famous and having fallen hard and having survived it. He hosted morning radio in Seattle for more than a decade. Then, in April 2022, he woke up and could not walk. His speech was slurred. After seeing by his own count approximately 100 doctors over the course of nearly a year, he was diagnosed with hydrocephalus, a buildup of cerebrospinal fluid in the brain that puts damaging pressure on brain tissue. He underwent surgery in June 2023 to have a shunt installed. The surgery went according to plan. In December 2023, he retired from radio. He moved to Palm Springs. He is 66 years old. She played Shirley Partridge, the widowed mother who sang lead and drove the bus and held the whole enterprise together with a warmth that never felt manufactured. In real life, she was the only actual professional singer among the main adult cast, a fact the show's producers quietly acknowledged by having most of the others mime their instruments. She was also the show's moral center in a literal sense. When Danny Bonaduce's home situation became untenable, she brought him home with her. When David Cassidy needed a family connection, she was the one who provided it, despite the somewhat complicated reality that she was actually his stepmother, not just his television mother, having been married to his father Jack Cassidy since 1956. Before the Partridge Family, Shirley Jones had won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for Elmer Gantry in 1960, playing a character so far from Shirley Partridge that it remains one of the more striking range demonstrations in Hollywood history. After the show, she continued to work consistently in film, television, and stage through every decade that followed, accumulating credits across a span of time that most actors cannot imagine. In 2013, she published a memoir that was remarkable for its candor, discussing her marriages, her relationships, and the reality of her life in the entertainment industry, with the frankness of someone who had decided that at a certain age there was no reason not to be honest. She turned 90 in 2024. She is, as of 2026, the oldest surviving member of the Partridge Family cast and, arguably, the one who most clearly got out of the bus on her own terms. She played Lori Partridge, the eldest daughter, the serious one, the one who dated and argued about principles and existed in the complicated social space between childhood and the adult world the show kept gesturing toward. Susan Day was a model before she was an actor. She was cast partly on the strength of her appearance and partly on something the camera confirmed immediately, which was that she could hold a scene simply by being present in it. She was 17 when the show began. She became, alongside David Cassidy, one of the show's heartthrob figures, and the cultural expectations that came with that position were not always easy to carry. She has spoken in interviews about struggles with an eating disorder during the show's run, body image pressures that were standard in the industry at the time and rarely acknowledged as such. After the Partridge Family ended, she built a second career of considerably more substance. L.A. Law, the NBC legal drama that ran from 1986 to 1994, made her a different kind of television star and earned her 3 Golden Globe nominations and 1 Emmy nomination. It was, professionally, a fuller and more satisfying arc than the one the Partridge years had promised. Since L.A. Law, Susan Day has maintained an almost complete distance from public life. She does not attend Partridge Family reunions. She does not give interviews about the show. Those who have worked with her describe the withdrawal as deliberate and firmly maintained. She is 73 years old. The internet has occasionally circulated claims about legal troubles in her past, but none of these have been confirmed by mainstream entertainment sources of record, and they should be treated accordingly, as the kind of rumor that attaches itself to any celebrity who has made themselves unavailable for correction. The painted school bus is in a museum now. The intro plays on streaming services for people who were not alive when it first aired. And the cast that boarded it in 1970 has scattered across 56 years of real life into addiction and arrest and illness and quiet retirement and an Academy Award and a brain surgery and a death at 67 with the words, "So much wasted time." The Partridge Family was a fiction, as all family sitcoms are. What was real was the people inside it, and what happened to them afterward. The bus kept rolling. Not everyone made it to the last stop. Which of these stories surprised you most? Tell us in the comments. And if this kind of honest look behind the television you grew up with is something you want more of, subscribing is the way to stay for what comes next.